So this is the basket of laundry that has so far taken me 3 days to do. I put the laundry in the washer. Hey, squirrel. 2 days ago. Yesterday I put it in the dryer. And today my plan is, oops, sorry, squirrel's nuzzling the camera. I was planning on folding it, and my idea was that I was going to fold it and talk to you guys. But then, hi squirrel, I noticed this, which is my knitting that has been talking to me, so I'm going to talk to you and do this instead of this. Oh well. So I thought what I would do is knit a little bit and tell you guys about the books that I've been reading. But I think Lucy just woke up from a nap, so never mind. We'll get back to it. Okay, where were we? So Lucy actually had a doctor's appointment today. She had her 2-month wellness visit today, and we just got home from that a little while ago. She did great, and I am back working on my Hansel hat, and this is actually supposed to be a blanket for her. And the yarn that I'm using is Nunaba yarns for the border, and this is white gum wool, and it's a gradient. Well, it's more like a color block sort of set, and that's for the border, and that's what I'm working on right now. And this main natural yarn is Moonstone Dye Works, which is my yarn, in an undyed natural merino. So the natural merino base is my non-superwash fingering weight base, and that's what this is, just undyed, and it's really lovely. So I'm going to get to working on this, and I'm going to tell you about sort of what I've been doing to keep myself entertained, because when you have a newborn, you spend a lot of time sitting doing nothing. I did this thing called, I think they call it a lion, where for the 2 weeks after Lucy was born, I pretty much stayed in bed with her and did nothing but hang out with her and sleep and nurse. And that is all we did for 2 weeks. And I mean, that's supposed to promote bonding. It's also just for your own healing, because I had an unmedicated vaginal birth, and my birth story is something I'm planning to get into in a later Vlogtober video. Not today though, but I did have some healing to do. So for those first 2 weeks, I did a lot of sitting in bed doing nothing, and normally that's not that bad, but I couldn't knit really. So that was really hard because I can't really knit while I nurse. I've done it once and it never worked again. I really wish I could. I really, really wish I could, but I can't, because I have to keep one hand on her, and I haven't figured out a good way to not do that, to where it's comfortable for everybody. But anyway, it was kind of fortuitous because Amazon Prime Day happened just before she was born, and during that time I bought a Kindle for the first time. And I didn't buy it with having a newborn in mind. I just thought it would be kind of cool, and it was really cheap. And I'm so happy I have it now. Because I'm a huge lover of audiobooks and of real paper books. But I had a couple of paper books, like I call them paper books, regular books, that I was reading while I was with her and while I've been nursing her and stuff, and they're hard. It's just really difficult to juggle like a baby and a big book at the same time. But the Kindle has been really amazing for that. I'm so, so happy I got it. So I've been reading a lot of books on that. I read The Handmaid's Tale, which is a novel by Margaret Atwood. It's what does she call it? She doesn't call what she writes science fiction. She calls it speculative fiction. It's a speculative fiction book about kind of a possible future scenario of how the world works. And I am a big Margaret Atwood lover. I really dig her books a lot. My very favorite series of books, pretty much of all time, is the Mad Adam trilogy, which starts with Oryx and Crake, and then Year of the Flood and Mad Adam. I highly recommend reading that book. If you're into speculative fiction, kind of post-apocalyptic, like what the future could be like, and it all feels a little too on the nose, you know? So it's kind of scary in that way, but it's really good. Anyway, I've never read The Handmaid's Tale, which is super weird because it's like her most popular book. And since there is a TV series out, either right now or just past, I'm not sure, I haven't seen it. There's been a lot of talk about The Handmaid's Tale, and it really got me thinking that I should read it, so I got it. It actually was one of the books that came free with the Kindle, which was super cool, so I read it. It's amazing. It's really amazing. I mean, you probably should read it if you haven't. The television show I'm curious about, I don't know anything about it. I haven't even seen any like previews or anything for it. I don't have actual television, so I don't see commercials or anything. But I'm interested in watching it. I'm one of those people where I'm a huge nerd, and every time I see a movie or a TV adaptation of a book that I love, I get all Jasmine-y of the Knitmore Girls, where I'm like, oh, that's not right. So I have a hard time with adaptations, but I'm curious, I'm interested. I've heard it's really good, so I do want to check that out. But it's a very good book, and it's actually about pregnancy is a big part. Pregnancy and having kids is a big part of the storyline in that book, which was pretty relevant to me. So it was really fun to read that. Also, a book that Colin, my husband, read to me, and then to me and Lucy. He started reading it to me the day that I went into labor. And he read it out loud to me that day, and then for the first couple weeks after Lucy was born, he read it to both of us. And I actually didn't plan on talking about this book, so I don't remember what it's called at all. I'm gonna look it up. I better just look it up. I have the magic of editing to make this okay. You know what? I don't even know how to look it up. I don't know the author's name either. I'm gonna text my husband. He'll tell me what it was called. Okay. He'll tell me. So I'll get back to that one later. Anyway, I also read Coraline by Neil Gaiman, another book. Neil Gaiman is one of my other favorite authors of all time, and Coraline is one of his books that I've always wanted to read, and it was fantastic. It was so good. It's very creepy, very perfect for this time of year. It's a young adult novel, and it's about a kid who pretty much goes into another dimension through a door in her home, and it's really amazing. I loved it. Neil Gaiman has quite a few young adult novels. His regular novels are one of my favorite collection of books ever. I love Neil Gaiman, but his young adult novels I'm just starting to get into reading, and I really loved Coraline a lot. The next one of his books that I read in the young adult series is the Graveyard Book. I just finished the Graveyard Book a few days ago, and it was really good. So the Graveyard Book is pretty much about this kid who is raised by ghosts in a graveyard. And it's pretty much set up to where it's almost a collection of short stories, but they're all integrated because they all follow this one kid's life in a linear progression of time. And it starts out when he's a baby, and then each chapter is kind of its own little individual story of his life as he gets older. And at first I was reading it and I thought, like, this is good, but it kind of wasn't holding my attention that much. It was fun, but not really, it didn't really grab me and suck me in. But by the end, it really did. By the end, I was like, this book is really good. I got, like, you know, you get all emotional and stuff at the end when you're really attached to a story, and that's what happened. So The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman was also really wonderful. Another young adult novel. or like a kid's book. I don't know. I don't really know what age range it's meant for, but it's meant for kids to older kids. I'm an adult and I liked it. And then I read another Neil Gaiman. This one was like a novella. It was really, really short, called The Sleeper and the Spindle. And I had never even heard of that one before. I just saw it and decided to get it. By the way, a place where I'm getting some of these books, which you may be interested in, is a digital library system. So if you have a library card through your local library, I believe this is national. I could be wrong, but I believe it's national. There's this program called Overdrive, and your library may be able to link up with it. And Overdrive is pretty much an ebook online checkout system that works through your local library. So I have been getting books from that, and it's been really amazing. I would Google it if I were you, if it's something you're interested in, and hope that your library has it because it's super, super cool. So just browsing Neil Gaiman through the Overdrive app, I found this book, The Sleeper and the Spindle by him, and I started reading it not knowing anything about it, and I started like recognizing characters, and I'm like, what is this supposed to be? And I finished it really quick in like a couple days, and pretty much it's a retelling of two classic fairy tales that get intertwined with each other. And I mean, you might be able to tell by the name, like kind of what it is. And I couldn't though. I didn't even put that together. When I told Colin that I was reading it and what it was about, he was like, oh yeah, I could tell by the name. I'm so dumb. Anyway, it's really fun. It's a super short read. If you're into fairy tales and kind of retelling of fairy tales, check it out. It's kind of, it retells two fairy tales and kind of makes one of the characters into like pretty much a feminist protagonist. It's really pretty cool. I liked it. And then I also read a novel. Hold on, I just finished my round, so I have to figure out where I'm at. Let's see. Row 19. Okay. So another author that I really like that my husband got me really into is John Scalzi. And John Scalzi is an author who writes kind of really modern pop science fiction novels, is what I want to call them. They're definitely sci-fi, like with aliens and space and all that kind of stuff. But they're very poppy. It's like, I mean, reading one of these novels, they read like a big, fun blockbuster kind of movie. They're just really fun novels to read, and he's got a series of books where the first one was released a while ago, I don't know, and the second one's coming out, I think, in this next month or two, and the first book in the series that I just read is called A Collapsing Empire, or The Collapsing Empire, one of the two, and it was great. It was really good. His books are so fun to read. There are a lot of there's a lot of really casual language in it, a lot of really good conversational language. There's a lot of excitement in these books. There's a lot of really great character development in terms of, it's almost like, it's like a movie or like almost like a sitcom with characters that you love. There's a lot of cursing, which I really appreciate. There's lots of allusions to sex, but it's not like it's not like graphic. It's not like freaking, what do you call it? It's not like Outlander, and that's not even that graphic. It's not like Akotar, which is can be pretty graphic. It's not like that kind of sex, but it's like comedic the way you'd find in like kind of a raunchy sitcom. So that was really good, and the second one comes out really soon, so I'm excited about that. And that one's pretty much, it's like there's like a federation, for lack of a better word. It's called the interdependency of a bunch of planets and people, humans who were originally from Earth, have started living on all sorts of other planets throughout the solar system, and there's this transportation system between planets, and it's kind of all about what's happening to that system. And it's just really fun and funny and good, and I really enjoyed it. And I think those are all the novels I've read. That's all I can think of right now off the top of my head. As far as TV shows, since we had Lucy, there's one TV show in particular that we have kind of become obsessed with, and it's really surprising to me. It's MasterChef. This is a reality competition show about cooking with Gordon Ramsay as the host, one of the hosts. And it is so good. For one, something you should know about me, I love cooking and food. It's a huge passion of mine. It's right up there with knitting. I love food and I love cooking just as much as I love knitting and wool. I don't love chefery, if that's what you want to call it. For as much as I love cooking and food, I've never ever wanted to become a chef. I'm not that interested. For one, in that lifestyle, not the lifestyle, in the whole restaurant kitchen scene. It's a little too hectic. Cooking is something that I find really great joy and pleasure in, and I feel like that kind of environment would kill it for me, the whole kitchen environment. Also, the type of food that I like isn't really Michelin star restaurant kind of food. Not that I've ever had food from a restaurant with a Michelin star, but the whole idea of like beautiful plating and dainty blah 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 and like little, what do you call them, little drops of like decorative mousse and puree and stuff just does not appeal to me. I'm more of a comfort food kind of person. I really love stews and soups and braises. Slow cooking is my favorite method of food cooking. And that kind of food definitely is not on MasterChef, because most of the challenges are like you have to cook something in an hour and you can't braise things in an hour. So it's really not my favorite type of food that's represented in the show, but I just love it. I also don't really like, I love cooking shows, but I'm really picky about them. I haven't seen the Food Network in a very long time, but I don't imagine I like anything on it anymore. But I saw an episode of MasterChef, and I just got super sucked into it. And so we were mid-season when I started watching it, and we went back from the beginning and watched this last current season that just ended. And I mean, I'm also not into reality shows like at all. I have like an aversion to that kind of thing. That whole competition reality thing just like doesn't appeal to me. But man, we got into it. We were like rooting for people, and like we hated some people. We're like hoping some people got kicked off, and like an episode would end and we'd like talk about it. We thought it was pretty funny. We made fun of ourselves a lot when we first started getting into MasterChef, but now I don't even care. I just love it. Like, I have a passionate love for MasterChef. So we watched the current season, and we also went back and watched the season before, which was like my favorite. I loved this previous season. And right now we're in the middle of season 2, which is it's pretty different. They really play up the drama between the competitors in the earlier seasons. Whereas in this last season, I felt like everybody was really supportive of each other. And, at the end, there was the one winner and the 3 final contestants, once the winner was announced, they all hugged each other and were all happy for each other. And this second season, they all hate each other. It's really weird. But anyway, I love cooking and I love food and I love watching other people do it, just like podcasts. I love watching other people knitting. I love watching other people cooking. And it's just been really fun. It's been really weird kind of admitting that I love this show, but I really do. I really love it. Um, and so the book that my husband read to me while the day I was in labor, and for the couple weeks after that, it's called Now My Heart Is Full. Okay, so that book is called Now My Heart Is Full. It's by author Laura June. And what it is a memoir that a woman wrote, Laura June, pretty much about her daughter Zelda and having a baby and her own upbringing. Her mom is in it a lot. She talks a lot about her mom and her own birth, the birth of her own daughter, and pretty much raising a baby. And my husband got this book because he thought it sounded interesting, and he didn't intend to read it to me. It just like started happening that way. And so we finished it, and it was really, really good. It's something that I can definitely recommend that anybody read. It's a great book. It's about relationships. It's about this woman's relationship with her own mother, with her daughter, with her husband, and she writes about everything so beautifully, and she's very honest. There's a lot of honesty in this book that isn't all like, I mean, some of the stuff is just like hard to come to terms with in how honest it is and how brutal it is, but she writes about it so eloquently. And I mean, she's such a good writer. I thought about it as we were reading it together, just how, I mean, she's pretty much telling her own life story and then having that life story transition into her daughter's life story. And the way she tells this story, it's just she's taking someone's life, her own life, that's so big and so vast, and so many things happen, and there's so many struggles in it, and so many personalities in it, and so many like emotions in it that she has grown to come to terms with. And she puts all these into a really eloquently written book. It's just the way it's laid out and the way it's written out is just really beautiful. And I would say that if you are in a place in your life where you happen to be pregnant or have a kid or a baby or are starting to think about that kind of stuff, definitely check it out, because it just felt so relevant to me as he was reading it to me. It was just like, it was just so perfect. But even if you're not, I think kind of as a woman, especially as a woman with a mother that you have a relationship with of any kind, it's a really interesting, it's just really good. I really, really recommend it. Yeah, that one's called Now My Heart Is Full. And her daughter, she named her daughter Zelda, which is so cool. I thought for a moment about the name Zelda, mostly because of Zelda Fitzgerald. But then I kind of felt like I couldn't because of the video game. That just, I don't know. I was never into Zelda, the video game. I'm very picky about it. I like some video games a lot, mostly Mario Brothers and Super Mario. That's kind of it. There's a couple other ones. I love Tetris, but I don't know. I always wished I liked Zelda, but I just never did. I don't know. I could never get into it. I wasn't good at it. It's the bottom line. I wasn't good at video games in general. So anyway, I am going to let you guys go there. This vlog turned out to be much, much longer than I was thinking. I was thinking today was going to be a short one, but anyway, have a good one, you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Okay, so I'm going to make this really, really quick because I realized that the video that I just recorded is way longer than I wanted any of my vlogs to be, but I forgot to talk about probably the best book that I read since Lucy was born. And I cannot believe I forgot about it because it was such an amazing book. It's called An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. And it was literally, I mean, like all these books that I've read recently are really great, but this one was really just better than all of them. It's actually like a literary novel and not a sci-fi book, not like a kind of fun book or like a kid's book. It's a literary novel, and it's kind of a masterpiece. It's if I'd say if you're gonna read, no, that's not true. I was gonna say if you're gonna read one book that I've talked about today, read this one, but I think it depends on who you are. But this book was just like literally, it was so good. It was so beautifully written. It's one of those works of fiction where not a single word is wasted. The writing is so beautiful and concise, and it tells the story just like in this really flowing, epic way. And it's amazing. It deals with so many interesting issues too. It's a real story about like a family where, I mean, this could be happening in real life, and it addresses a lot of issues in our social system in this country. And it's funny, and it's really sad, and it's really touching, and it's really angering, and it's really amazingly written. Also, and Eva of the Charm of It podcast read an excerpt from this novel on her podcast, because she does these things where if a novel she's reading talks about the fiber arts, she'll read about it on her podcast, or she'll read from the book on her podcast. And one of the main characters in this book is a doll maker, and it treats her and her craft really interestingly. It's like the author really kind of understood the craft behind doll making, and the way it's written into the book and into her character is really beautiful. Really beautiful. It's just a really, it's a novel that's really touching, and it really is going to make you think about things. And so I just wanted to really quickly talk about that one, because I cannot believe I forgot about it, because it's, like I said, it's probably the best. It's like the best book that I read in these past couple months. So that one's An American Marriage by Tayani Jones. Check it out. Okay. Bye, guys.